There we are. There I am. What's going on, guys? TJ here to bring you tonight's 5-game, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time start for some odd reason. NBA slate. Obviously, I am alone. I do not have Matt with me tonight. He has some New Year's Eve plans that he will be attending to. I, however, have no life. We'll be watching basketball with my girlfriend, or movies with my girlfriend, and playing games. And hanging out with my son, getting some Chinese food. So I have some big plans ahead of me tonight. Hope everybody had a safe holidays. Obviously, winding down this year of 2020, which has been absolutely abysmal. So hope everybody's pumped for 2021. There is still some money to be made, however, in 2020. So I'm excited to break down tonight's 5-game slate. Just got some breaking news in the Knicks, New York, that Alec Burks and Quickly, who were both questionable, will now sit, along with Toppin, who actually played opening night and hasn't played since. Frank is also out, which is pretty big. So the one thing that I wanted to do before we actually dive into every game is I pulled up last game's popcorn machine going up against Cleveland. Now, this was an 8-man rotation. Obviously, Frank was involved there, only playing 16 minutes. But the Knicks mostly kept it between the core 5 and the starters of Reggie Bullock, RJ, Julius Randle, Mitch, and Alfred Payton. As you can see, we had Reggie Bullock playing 41 minutes, RJ playing 39. Julius Randle played 44 minutes. His rotation was absolutely absurd. He got 2 minutes of rest at the end of the first quarter and then would come in at the 10-minute mark to start, the second and fourth quarter. I feel like every single time I glanced up at that game, he was in there. So pretty impressive, the big man playing 44 minutes and still being as productive as he was, notching that triple-double. We had Mitch playing almost 32 minutes and then Alfred Payton playing almost 36 minutes. So I definitely think this is a situation that we could see again with all those guards being ruled out. I'm not even sure who's going to back up Alfred Payton now with Frank being out. I guess Austin Rivers is probable, so I would assume Austin Rivers would have those duties that Quickly would have been seeing. Quickly was projected at 20 minutes. We had Alec Burks projected at 26. So those minutes need to be dispersed. I expect heavy minutes for that starting 5, and I now really like them in terms of cash. I think they're going to carry some ownership for sure. So let's dive into this 5-game slate. I just wanted to cover the Knicks, obviously, because that news literally came. I was waiting for that news. I went live, and then, of course, it breaks as soon as I click on that stupid non-copyright music that I hope you guys enjoyed. So 5-game slate. We obviously don't have the Bulls and Wizards on it. We have the Sixers and the Magic sitting at a 219.5 over-under currently. We have the Kings and Houston, which is at a crazy 232 right now. Opened up at 228.5. It's gone up 3.5 points. So a lot of people, the public, 85% on the over. We have the Knicks in Toronto, where we just saw that news, sitting at a 217 currently. Pelicans and OKC sitting at a 215.5. Money actually on the under, but it's risen up a little bit. So that means sharp money coming in on the under. So be wary of that. And then we have the late night game at 9 o'clock tonight between the Suns and Utah, currently sitting at 219.5. So the game that everybody wants to target tonight is obviously going to be Sacramento and Houston, given the high over-under that we're seeing. But we don't know what we're going to see from Houston because we haven't seen John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Eric Gordon play so far this year. And in the only game that we actually had John Wall and James Harden line up in the backcourt together was in preseason against the Spurs, playing 21 minutes for Harden and 25 minutes for John Wall. Obviously, Boogie got the start at the 5, and that was without Christian Wood. So the Houston picture is completely untold, and I'm not too sure what we're honestly going to see. So with that being said, some of these guys are carrying ownership, like James Harden, like John Wall. The John Wall price tag at $7,100 is definitely something that I'm intrigued by. I don't believe he'll be on a minute restriction. I think if this game can be competitive against Sacramento, who showed some heart against Denver, I expect the same thing against Houston. I think he could easily pay off that price tag at $7,100. Now, in terms of cash tonight, I don't think I'm going to go up and get James Harden. I like a middle type build again tonight like I did last night. The pay-ups last night were Giannis and Luka. I avoided that Luka trash, thankfully. Weird game from Dallas. And then, Giannis looked really good, but that middle of the road build was definitely more beneficial. If you roster Jaylen Brown, then tip of the cap to you. He was absolutely electric through 3 quarters last night against Memphis. So, yeah, this picture is kind of untold. We have the starting lineup right now. It is confirmed. It's going to be John Wall, Harden, House, PJ Tucker, and Christian Wood. It doesn't say it's confirmed right here, but yeah, there we go. I just had to refresh. So when I'm looking at this from an outside perspective, I'm definitely going to have interest in some of these guys in tournaments. I'll have interest in Harden, Christian Wood carrying lower ownership. I'll definitely have interest in him. John Wall is probably going to be my cash option from this game. I have more interest in cash from the Sacramento side of the ball just because I am unsure as to what we're going to see in Houston. Boogie Cousins, currently projected at 17 minutes. We know how productive he can be in a limited time, so I definitely like him as a tournament play. PJ Tucker, again, 5.8%. Eric Gordon, 2%. I mean, at the highest over-under that we're seeing on the slate and the highest team total currently sitting at 119. These guys I'm going to love for tournaments, but for cash, I think I could see myself rostering John Wall, and I don't know if I have any more interest in Houston. So we'll go to the other side of the ball right now and touch base on Sacramento. And this is definitely where I have some more interest because the picture is a little more clear. And I want to touch base on the last game that Sacramento just played against Denver. And the one thing that I am a little worried on is definitely going to be Marvin Bagley, who currently sits at 5,300 and projected at 26 minutes. Now, the one thing we saw with Luke Walton, the coach of Sacramento, and Marvin Bagley is he had a fantastic first half against Denver. Only played 5 minutes and 30 seconds in that second half against Denver and didn't go back in. He wasn't hurt. He looks healthy, played unbelievable in the first half, but Luke Walton decided to stick with the guys that were playing really well to end that third and in the fourth quarter. So he didn't go back to Marvin Bagley. We saw a guy like Rashawn Holmes play 32 minutes, Tyrese off the bench playing 25 minutes, giving them some good time. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, and Harrison Barnes were also in there to end the game. So definitely interested as to why Marvin Bagley didn't come back in the game. Like I said, Luke Walton was quoted just saying he wanted to ride the hot hands that were playing well in the fourth, but he was so good in the first half, so I don't really know why he didn't go back to him. He had 18 points, I think, in the first half. He didn't even score in that second half. So 18 points in the first half, no points in the second half, only 5.5 minutes played. But tonight against Houston, I definitely like going back to the well as long as he does get some minutes in the second half. I think he's really cheap at 5,300. I think he's definitely cash viable. Harrison Barnes is somebody that's been filling out the stat sheet as of late and hasn't even gotten that price bump at 5,400 again tonight. I definitely like him in this high upside game at 5,400. I think he's cash viable. I really like De'Aaron Fox at 7,800. Somebody gave Matt crap today on his YouTube video. He keeps calling him De'Aaron Fox. It's De'Aaron Fox. I'm trying to get Matt accustomed to all the NBA players and their names. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, definitely like him in this uptick game again at 7,800. I think this is the side of the ball I want to be on in terms of cash because if Houston is just so unclear with the pitcher. So I definitely have more interest in Houston in tournaments, Sacramento, and cash. Just want to actually bring up the YouTube channel here on my phone so that I can see your guys' questions because I am going to go through the entirety of the slate and then I will get to any questions you guys might have. So I just want to make sure that I'm doing this right. Okay, perfect. You guys are all in here. You guys are fantastic. No limit for any Rockets. Thank you, Slothy, my dude. So yeah, let's touch base on these other games. We also had some injury news come out of Orlando, and I definitely have some interest in this Orlando-Philly game, more so on the Orlando side of the ball, and that is that Terrence Ross is going to be sitting tonight. Obviously, the sixth man for Orlando coming off the bench. Orlando, one of the only undefeated teams currently at 4-0. They've been playing some good ball. They've been super efficient offensively. If you look at the efficiency numbers in terms of offensive possessions, Orlando actually ranks fourth. So the pace of play really hasn't been too high. I'm pretty sure they rank, so sixth. So they're playing at actually a pretty high pace, and they're very efficient offensively so far to start the year. So the offense definitely has been clicking. So yeah, with Terrence Ross off the court, where did all of my don't even tell me that they got, oh my God. Okay, so my projections got tossed, but I have my sheet here. I went through and filled out all the projections that I have from my sheet onto Roto, but they're gone. So that's fantastic. So we're looking at Orlando. Now I have to go down and find them on my sheet. Here we are. So I ran numbers last year for Orlando with Terrence Ross and Jonathan Isaac off the floor. I left on James Ennis, and I also left off Aminu because they really didn't eat too much at the minutes, even though they are also out for Orlando tonight. So I was really just looking at Vooch, Fultz, Gordon, Fournier, and Michael Carter-Williams. Obviously, we won't have any numbers on Anthony Cole because he's a rookie. So if we look at these numbers for Orlando right here, you guys, if you can see it, with all those guys, so Terrence Ross and Jonathan Isaac off the floor, Vooch doesn't get a usage bump. Fultz gets a small usage bump. And then Michael Carter-Williams gets the biggest usage bump at almost 1%. If we're looking at fantasy points per minute, Vooch was a 1.33 fantasy point per minute, garnering almost a 26% usage rate. We got Fultz at a 1 fantasy point per minute and a 22.5% usage rate. Aaron Gordon at a 1.01 fantasy point per minute, a 20.5% usage rate. Fournier, 0.91 fantasy point per minute, 22.7% usage rate. And then Michael Carter-Williams at a 0.96 fantasy point per minute and an 18.6% usage rate. So if you look at my value sheet that I run my numbers on, green means very good. Yellow means great. Okay, so yellow means great. I'll say green means fantastic. Anything that you see in white is just neutral. Anything less than 5 is eh. So as you can see on my sheet, Michael Carter-Williams rates out to a 6.7 value. So when we're looking at his price tag at 3,600 on a slate where we really don't have too many injury news, obviously we just got the Knicks news, getting 25 minutes off the bench, kind of playing that Terrence Ross role. Obviously, Michael Carter-Williams isn't as good as a shooter as Terrence Ross, but he's definitely a better distributor. I definitely like him at 3,600. He's carrying a lot of ownership. He's probably going to be the chalkiest guy on the slate. Right here, we see the ownerships right now for these guys. So Michael Carter-Williams at 3,600 is a fantastic play. He's definitely going to be a cash lock for me tonight, given the production that he has with Terrence Ross off the floor and given the opportunity that he will see at a cheap price tag. So I really like Terrence Ross. I really like Michael Carter-Williams. If I had to go anywhere else, I really like Fournier at 5,500. I think he's really cheap getting the minutes at 33. I like Markelle Fultz at 6,300 as well. Vooch definitely has a tough matchup with Embiid, but I would love to watch them battle down low at 8,700. More of a tournament play for me. So if I'm going cash plays, it's going to be Michael Carter-Williams, Fournier, and Fultz. Still unclear with the Aaron Gordon minutes. I mean, I don't know what's happening. The most minutes he played was against Washington, where he almost eclipsed 30. Last 2 games, he's rarely played. So, a little unsure. I know they're going to ease him back into the season coming off that injury, but yeah, so Michael Carter-Williams and Evan Fournier are my 2 favorite cash plays. I'm definitely locking in Michael Carter-Williams. On the other side of the ball, we have Philly. I don't really have any interest in these guys in terms of cash. I definitely don't hate Embiid's price tag at 10K. If we look at the values here and what we've seen so far this year, Embiid's averaging 1.54 fantasy points per minute. The one guy I think that I would really go to in terms of cash, if I had to, would be Tobias Harris at 7,100, who in terms of his production is averaging 1.17 fantasy points per minute and a 22.4% usage rate, which is slightly better than Simmons' 22% usage rate and is second highest on the team, only behind Embiid at 31.7% usage. So I think if I had to go anywhere in terms of cash, I'd go Tobias, but I really don't have too much interest here. So we'll move on. We touch base on the Knicks, guys. I want to wait and see what happens with these minutes, where they get dispersed to. I think it's going to be a heavy, 7-man rotation here. Okay, yeah. Let's see. Do we have updated minutes? We do not yet. We have Alec Burks out listed, but still currently showing some minutes, as is Quickly. So we'll go back to the Knicks there. We have Toronto on the other side of the ball, obviously playing the Knicks. I could go with one of Van Vliet or Lowry as like a last piece in cash. OG Anunoby's been playing some really good basketball, coming off a fantastic game against Philly where he almost hit 10 times value. He was right around 9 times value. So on the sheet, if we look at it, we have, where are you? Where's Toronto? There we are. OG currently showing the highest rating in terms of Toronto, in terms of value at a 0.94 fantasy points per minute, which is actually a lot higher than he was last year. I'm pretty sure he was around like a 0.82. So he's playing a little bit better. The price tag is creeping up there, approaching 6K. So I wouldn't hate one of these guys, as in Lowry and Van Vliet, as a last piece in cash. Definitely like Siakam as a tournament play. And I wouldn't hate OG Anunoby as a last piece in cash either. I guess I'll include him with my Lowry and Van Vliet. But again, I think there's definitely some better plays out there. Moving on to the Pelicans and OKC game, which is currently another low over-under that we're seeing right now at about a 215. I mean, the Knicks and Toronto, again, at a 217. There's a lot of low over-unders except for that Houston and Sacramento game, which is going to be very popular. My favorite play definitely from here is going to be Brandon Ingram. My boy Meansy agrees. If we look at our sheet again, Brandon Ingram showing yellow at a 5.9 value, currently sitting at a 1.31 fantasy point per minute. Only 8K. Again, I don't understand why he's not getting these bumps. It's because he's having fantastic games and then he's having lowly games. So I don't care. I'm going to take my chance with Brandon Ingram, especially at the production that we've seen so far this year from him. Between Ingram and Zion, I lean Ingram. If you want to go Zion for cash, I think you can get away with either one. Both of them showing a good amount of ownership, and I think one of them is definitely going to smash tonight. I lean Ingram. I like that matchup a little bit more for him going up against those OKC guards. So, yeah, I lean Ingram here in terms of cash. You can get away with Zion if you want to try and roster both. Go ahead. But, again, I definitely lean with Ingram. Lonzo Ball showing 22%. I don't have any interest in him in terms of cash. Definitely more of a tournament play for me. But showing that ownership, probably be a pretty strong fade. OKC, another team that I'm definitely interested in. And as we look, we definitely have some pretty good value. Now, the Hill value that you see currently sitting at a 6.5 is in a limited sample size because he did sit last game. It's only a 52-minute sample size. So tread lightly with George Hill. He is probable. It looks like he is going to play. I'm going back to the well with SGA. I think he's a really good piece tonight in cash going up against those Pelican guards. A guy that's been super productive so far to start the year. And in 2 games where he's actually put up 20 shots, his usage has been very high. And then in the game where he was most productive in terms of efficiency, which was against Orlando, he only put up 10 shots and his usage rate was down. So if we can see a high usage rate game from SGA where he can actually be more efficient shooting the ball, I love him to pay off this price tag at 8,100. I've been on him for the first 3 games in cash. I'm not going to get off of him now at 8,100. I think that's too cheap for him. He's had very slow first halves in all 3 games, and he's definitely picked it up in the second half. So if he can just play consistent and shoot well in the first half, and then the second half, do what he's been doing, easily pay off that price tag at 8,100. Lou Dort, I think, is another decent cash play at 5,100. He's been getting the minutes, and he's been playing pretty good. Didn't really play well against Orlando, which is fine. The usage has been okay, but I don't mind him as a last piece in cash. George Hill is definitely an interesting play. He rates out very well. I mean, in the 2 games that we've seen, he's been super productive for them starting at the 2. So if he's going to get those 24 to 26 minutes, again, another guy I wouldn't hate as a last piece in cash. And for everybody else, Darius Bazley showing some ownership as well and definitely doesn't rate out too high on the sheet. So I don't really have too much interest in him. If he's going to show 20% ownership, I think that's going to be a fade for me, especially with Al back and George Hill back as well, eating at some of that usage. In the last game, guys, we have Phoenix and Utah. I know that I am talking a lot. There's 88 of you in here. Thank you so much for being in. I'll get to your questions very shortly, but I just want to cover the slate in its entirety. And I'm very upset that my numbers got taken off of Roto for some reason. I'll have to go back after the live stream and put them back in. So I have definitely some interesting numbers here on Phoenix. And that is that Devin Booker is averaging 0.99 fantasy points per minute, which is just absolutely insane. If we look at Devin Booker last year, he's a 1.2 fantasy point per minute. So I kind of think the addition of CP3 is hurting him. Well, I don't think it's hurting him. I know it's hurting him. They haven't really been able to get that backcourt down, unfortunately, and it's resulted in some pretty poor play from Devin Booker, which is something we're not used to seeing. He has come down from that 9,800 price tag that we did see in that second game against Sacramento, all the way down to 8,600. This whole entire team in terms of Phoenix is going to be tournament plays for me. Chris Paul showing 24% ownership, I guess, is the last piece. If you want to go there, go ahead. I think I'd rather go to a guy like Kyle Lowry or Van Vliet in that price range. But yeah, definitely tournament plays here for me. I'll have Booker at 8,600 just because he is showing 3% ownership. But yeah, all these guys definitely tournament plays for me. I definitely have some more interest in Utah. And with that being said, my favorite play from Utah is definitely going to be Rudy Gobert at 7,500, who has yet to get that real big price increase. Obviously opened up the year at 6,800, now hovering around that mid 7K range. I mean, look at the efficiency that he's had. We know that he's a guy that can just get offensive rebounds. He's a double-double machine, easy putbacks for him. Field goal percentage currently at 75% on the year, only putting up 10, 10, and 8 shots, but super efficient with him. He's paid off his price tag in each of his first 3 games. So if we can get a game where Rudy Gobert can get 14, 15 shots, he could go for 50 DraftKings points. So I really like Rudy Gobert as a solid piece tonight in cash. I wouldn't hate Donovan Mitchell, but I think for me in terms of cash, the only guy that I'm really interested in is going to be Rudy Gobert. I also don't hate Jordan Clarkson at 4,800. I think he's a really good play in terms of cash. Currently sitting at a 1.17 fantasy points per minute and a 26.4% usage rate off the bench. We know how pivotal he is when he does come off the bench. He is a usage monster for them, manning that offense. So I really like him as the last piece too in cash. But, with that Knicks value, I definitely need to go back and see where those minutes got dispersed to if we do have an update, which it doesn't look like we do. Come on, Knicks. What are we doing here, you guys? We do. Fantastic. Look at that. Reggie Bullock at 38. Okay. So it kind of looks like we're seeing that type of tight rotation that we did see against Cleveland for the Knicks, which is absolutely fantastic. So if we go back here and we input our new minutes, Alfred Payton 32. I'm going to put Alfred Payton at 34. I don't think he plays 32. Mitch 31. That's safe. Reggie Bullock 38. Okay. So obviously Quickly is out, so we don't have to worry about him. And we got Alec Burks is out, so we don't have to worry about him. Austin Rivers, 18. We got Kevin Knox back in the mix. Not somebody I want to mess with. I have no interest in Austin Rivers either. It's definitely going to be these 5 starters between Randall, RJ Barrett, Alfred Payton, Mitch Robinson, and Reggie Bullock. So Alfred Payton currently, tough matchup in terms of going up against Lowry and Van Vliet, but I definitely like Alfred Payton at 5,900, especially based off of what we saw in these last couple games when he is seeing minutes, especially in a tight rotation tonight against Toronto. I think he'll play 36 minutes, especially if this game is competitive. So if we can see Alfred Payton get that 36 minutes, he becomes a really good play. 0.89 fantasy points per minute. I might have to go back to the well with Julius Randle again. If he's going to get, 44 minutes against Cleveland, I could see him playing 40 tonight against Toronto. They're going to need him. So banging down low with Siakam, Aaron Baines. So I kind of like Julius Randle as a cash play now. Again, just solely based off of what I've seen these last couple games. Coming off a triple-double against Cleveland where he played 44 minutes. What's to say that he won't eclipse that 38 to 40-minute mark again, especially if this game is competitive. So I really like Julius Randle now for cash. And then Reggie Bullock is definitely in play at 4,600. Again, a guy that's going to see a ton of minutes for them, played 41 against Cleveland. If they can keep this competitive, it is almost a 10-point spread, which is one thing that I'm a little weary about. But I think these guys just became really good cash plays. So if we're looking at the ownership, I want to refresh just in case we got an update. And I need to just make sure that I'm not missing anything. Okay, I'm not. Okay, so when we're looking at ownership right now, we're seeing Michael Carter-Williams carrying the most ownership at 36%, which obviously makes sense with Terrence Ross being out. He's definitely a cash lock for me. Marvin Bagley currently showing the second most ownership at almost 34%. Again, I really like Marvin Bagley in this uptick matchup against Houston. Sacramento's actually been playing at a lower pace than we're used to seeing. Where are you, Sacramento? Yeah, 102 possessions a game, so near the bottom third. But, going up against Houston that we know is not afraid to run the floor, obviously. Only 19th, so I'm not worried about that because that's without John Wall, without Eric Gordon. That's a lot of just James Harden dribbling, running down the shot clock, and just chucking up a 3. So I definitely like this matchup. The only thing that I am worried about is that Marvin Bagley second half that we saw. If that second rotation can get really good minutes for Luke Walton in Sacramento, if they don't go back to Marvin Bagley, I think that stinks. But at 5,300, I think he's very capable in this matchup of paying off this price tag. Zion carrying good ownership as well, almost at 33%. Brandon Ingram is definitely somebody I'm more interested at 27%. I think that would be my second favorite cash lock. But yeah, that's currently where we're sitting right now, guys, in terms of ownership. So what I think in terms of this slate is that I have interest in Orlando. I definitely have interest in Michael Carter-Williams. When it comes to Houston and Sacramento, I have interest in Bagley. I have interest in Harrison Barnes in terms of cash. I also have interest in De'Aaron Fox. When it comes to Houston, I think my favorite play is going to be John Wall. I don't think I'm going to get up to James Harden tonight in cash at $11K. More of a tournament play for me. If you do have the salary to go up and get him, sure, why not? But for me, I'm going to stay clear of it. DeMarcus Cousins is definitely going to be a fantastic tournament play tonight, as is Eric Gordon at 2%. I definitely have interest in these Knicks. I really like Julius Randle now with that news that we just got from Alec Burks and Quickly being out in such a tight rotation that we'll probably see. I really like Reggie Bullock as well at 4,600. Alfred Payton I have some serious interest in, and I'm considering in cash at 4,900. OKC, I have interest in SGA at 8,100, and I definitely have interest in George Hill potentially, but not a cash play for me currently. On the outside looking in more of a tournament play. And I definitely have interest in this Utah game. I really like Rudy Gobert as a cash play as well. So for me, my builds are definitely going to be middle of the pack. I don't think I'm going to get up for any of these pay up spots as in Harden, Embiid, and Simmons. I could definitely see myself starting my builds at 8,800 with Julius Randle, or starting with like an SGA, Ingram, Rudy Gobert. Start and then finding some value with those Knicks, Houston, and Sacramento, mainly right here with Harrison Barnes and Marvin Bagley. So those are my thoughts on tonight's slate. I know that was a lot. I'm going to look at your questions now. Looks like there's a lot of them, so thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, go ahead and fire them off now. It looks like there's 96 of you in here. I don't want to go to YouTube on my computer because that trippy scene that we saw last time where there was like 98 of me on the screen. So I'm going to go through right now. Wayne, what's up, man? Hey, Devin, how you doing? Grant, thank you for that quick update. Paradox, let's make some money. Hell yeah. Smitty, hope everyone has a great 2021. I agree. I hope 2021 is definitely a better year than what we just saw in 2020. Kyle, what's up, man? Hey, everybody. Hammer and Randall. Grant, yeah, I'm definitely on Randall now. I really like him at 8,800, especially with the minutes that we could potentially see. Adam, what's going on, man? I hope you have a safe and happy new year as well. I hope y'all faded Drummond. I did not play that 2-game slate. I am not interested in 2-game slates, so I stayed clear of that. Kevin, you like Embiid and SGA tonight. I agree with you in SGA and in cash. I like Embiid more of a tournament play. What's your 74th favorite color? My 74th favorite color would probably be macaroni orange. How many cash spots do you prefer in a single entry 980 person tournament? I'd probably say 5 to 6. I think you can get away with 5 or 6. SGA or Dort, that is a very big price discrepancy. I would lean SGA, but it really depends on your builds and what you're looking at because there's such a discrepancy in their price tags. Carter Williams, Zion look great for cash. Yes, Matt, I 100% agree with you. I'm locking in Carter Williams. I am leaning Ingram over Zion currently. Any good centers for cash? Yeah, let's check it out. What do we got for centers? Julius Randle's definitely a good play. Rudy Gobert, Marvin Bagley. I think there are some really good centers tonight to pay up for and some middle of the tier. Peyton should ball. Completely agree with you. Paying up for Gobert or paying down at center? I think I want to make Julius Randle or Gobert a priority for me in terms of center. But if you want to spend down at Marvin Bagley and start there, you can definitely get away with that. Besides those three, I really don't have too much interest in anybody. DeMarcus Cousins, definitely a tournament play. I'm not going to mess with him in cash. Mitchell Robinson's going to see, a high amount of minutes as well. I mean, more than we saw him play last year. So if he's going to play 32 minutes, I guess I wouldn't hate him. But I definitely prefer Marvin Bagley. Just hoping that he gets, those second half minutes that he should, be getting. Ingram is 9,400 on FanDuel. On FanDuel. Wow, that's definitely interesting. I like OG and Barnes on FanDuel. Buck. Okay, yeah, you're talking to Big Buck. Gotcha. These FanDuel centers suck. Sorry, not playing FanDuel. Peyton or Hill for cash? I lead out for Peyton. Fox versus Wall. Battle for speed. Wonder who eats tonight. It's definitely Darren Fox. Who do you like? Royce O'Neal for value? How do you like Royce O'Neal for value? He's definitely somebody that hasn't been productive, but definitely can be. He's very cheap at 3,800. He's going to see minutes. He's only a 0.57 fantasy point per minute so far this year. Obviously a limited sample size. But the one thing I really like to hone in on is that usage rate. He's at a 7.4% usage rate. So it's a lot of standing in the corner. If he can hit open threes, then yeah. He's very good defensively. He can definitely get you some steals and some blocks. Last piece for cash, I guess, if you really want some value, but I definitely like some other plays from the Jazz, and I think there's some better, cheaper plays that you can go to at 3,800. Smash that like button. Yes, thank you, Matt. Holmes or Boucher for GPP on FanDuel? Oh, that's tough because I do like Boucher. I think he has a lot of upside. I'm going to say Holmes because the minutes are definitely more secure. Good luck today, Thomas John. It's not Thomas John. It's Thomas James, but thank you. Thank you, Thad. Lowry or Elf? I know, big price difference. I think I'm gonna. I think Lowry's the better play, but Alfred Payton's definitely gonna be cheaper. So I would say Alfred Payton, but I definitely have interest in Lowry as well. Would you consider Cole Anthony's and GPPs? Definitely. Vooch or Gobert for DK Cash? Gobert. Eric Gordon. I like Eric Gordon as a tournament play strictly. I have no interest in him in cash. But yeah, at 2% ownership. I understand John Wall's there. I understand DeMarcus Cousins is back in the mix. But I definitely like Eric Gordon still. I think he's going to go Under the radar, I think the ownership, obviously, what we're seeing is going to James Harden and John Wall. Zion, Bagley, Embiid, Wood, my favorite cash centers. Okay, thank you, Matt. I see you answering some questions. I appreciate it. Wood at the 5 versus Holmes, so don't mind. Yeah, I definitely like Wood for GPPs. Paradox, Wood for GPPs. Yeah, I definitely like him for GPPs. I think a lot of people are going to see Cousins back and kind of get off of him, but we saw how productive Christian Wood's been. He can stay out of foul trouble. I definitely like him going up against those bigs of Sacramento. Contrarian build with Harden is my favorite build. All right, Matt, I like that. Guys are hammering the under on Walls player props right now. Okay. Carter, Fournier, Dort, Ingram, Bagley, Peyton, Randall, and Gobert and Cash. I actually like that lineup. I like that lineup a lot. The only guy I'd be a little iffy on would be Dort. I think I'd rather go to Harrison Barnes. I don't know if you have the money though. Barnes is what, 5,400. I think Dort is 5,100. You might be able to pull it off if you were leaving some on the table. Yeah, 5,100, and then we have Dort. We have Barnes at 50. Yeah, I don't know if you can pull that off. If you can, I'd rather go Barnes over Dort. Al Horford for tourney, definitely a tournament play. He hasn't really been too productive, and I'm kind of surprised. Tough matchup against Steven Adams, but a tournament play at 6,100. I think Bazley's kind of been eaten a little bit at his production in terms of Al getting rebounds. Darius Bazley a little more active than Al. But this could be a game where Al could definitely see double-digit rebounds because, Steven Adams is definitely going to play down low. He's not somebody that's really going to stretch the floor. So you could definitely see an Al Horford double-double tonight, so I don't hate him for tournaments, especially at 3%. Cole, good pivot from Michael Carter-Williams for sure. Michael Carter-Williams is going to be the chalk play tonight. Unfortunately, I don't have any previous stats last year from Cole Anthony, obviously, because he's a rookie. But if you look at the ownership right now, 36% currently on Michael Carter-Williams in tournaments. He'll probably be upwards of 60 to 70% in cash, maybe higher. Kind of the free piece tonight that we're seeing. So, yeah, Cole Anthony showing, a fourth of that ownership. I definitely like him as a pivot in tournaments. I feel like George Hill is going to bust tonight. How do you feel about Tyrese or even Cole Anthony as alternatives? Love it. I love it. John Wall cash. I think you can get away with him as a last piece in cash, yes. Any good centers for tournaments? Let's check it out. What do we got for centers? If you want to go up and get Embiid, I like him at 10K. You'd have to build around him, obviously, because of his price tag. Mitchell Robinson is somebody that I'd be interested because I think the minutes are going to be there and, showing 14% owned. I don't hate Steven Adams at 5,700, and I like Boogie at 5K. Obviously, could play 20 minutes and can definitely be productive in that time. This is a guy that last year averaged... Why aren't you on here, Boogie? Okay, he was above a 1 point fantasy. He was above a 1 fantasy point per minute. So I definitely like him for tournaments. Steven Adams going up against his old team at low ownership and price tag is a great contrarian pick tonight at center. Yeah, Matt, I agree. I think he's a really good tournament play. Clarkson cash or tourney play. I think he's right on the edge. I like him for both. Favorite shooting guard play / value. Let's see. What do we got here for shooting guards? My favorite shooting guard in terms of value is going to be, I wish I had my projections in on Roto so I could actually give you a bet. Now I have to scroll through. I like Tyrese. I like the minutes he's been playing at 4,900. Reggie Bullock's going to see a crazy amount of minutes tonight at 4,600. I wouldn't be surprised if that ownership jumps up to around 15-20%, and I don't know what I just did. I just completely changed him. So I think that's where I would go. Kind of like Reggie. I can't believe I'm saying I like Reggie Bullock at 4,600. And I do like Tyrese at 4,900 as well. I like Clarkson at 4,800. I think there's some good value in that 4K range. Fournier also another play that I really like at 5,500. So that's kind of where I'm looking currently. Would you wall in GPPs? For sure. Any good guards for GPPs for DK tonight? Any good guards like in total for tourneys? If you want to go to the well with Devin Booker at 3%, the price tag's dropping. He's been abysmal to start the year, but I don't see him. He's got to get out of this slump eventually. Ben Simmons at 9,200, showing absolutely no ownership at 4%. I think is kind of criminal. Definitely somebody you could get away with in tournaments. I'm just trying to see who we have in terms of ownership. Jordan Clarkson's 6%. Then yeah, I love him. That's where I would go. Any interest in Harden tonight with all these players back? Not in cash. Not for me tonight. Definitely more of a tournament play. Yeah, Barnes works. Okay, yeah, I like that I like that Nova. I've got 3,100 to spend on a guard. Do I just go maxi to maximize the most of it? I mean, if you have 3,100 to put on a guard, yeah, I guess you can go maxi. I would readjust my lineup honestly. I'd probably adjust honestly. I would pivot and go somewhere else. I don't really like going down there. Bagley or Baisley? I like Bagley for cash. Any reason Mikal Bridges not being in the sheet? No, you know what? I have Mikal Bridges in the sheet. Where are you, Bridges? Oh, Mikal Bridges isn't on the slate. That's why. Okay, that makes sense. I was like, wait a second. I remember seeing him. Boogie Revenge Game. Definitely a possibility for Boogie. Just the minutes scare me. 3 good plays for cash. So if we're going to look at ownership as a whole, like it's showing Michael Carter-Williams, John Wall, and Donovan Mitchell being the highest owned guys. My consensus on who I think are really good plays in terms of cash tonight, I really like Michael Carter-Williams. I'm going to go by this because I don't want to do that. I really like Michael Carter-Williams. I really like – where is – oh, I'm only on – that makes sense. Okay. Here we are. That makes more sense. I really like Michael Carter-Williams at 3,600 for cash. I think he's a free piece. I like Ingram at 8K. And I really like Harrison Barnes and Marvin Bagley at that mid, 5 to 5.5K range. And I like Rudy Gobert at 7,500. SGA also at 8,100. And then I think there's that Knicks value that it just opened up with like Reggie Bullock, Alfred Payton. I just gave you guys a whole entire lineup. So that's kind of where I like in terms of cash. Oh, Mikal Bridges. That's who you're talking about. Okay. Where is my Phoenix Suns on here? Oh, here we are for Bridges. Okay. Yeah, I was just very confused. Yeah, Bridges, I mean, 0.93 fantasy point per minute. He had a monster game. No, he didn't have a monster game. What Bridges am I thinking of? I'm having a complete brain blast right now. I would go Bridges as a tournament play. Definitely, I don't have any interest for him in terms of cash. Embiid versus Vooch, definitely going to be a fun matchup to watch. Any good power forwards for tournaments? I mean, Brandon Ingram and Zion are probably going to be 2 of the chalkier guys. If Julius Randle's ownership stays at that, I like that. I like OG at 5,800. Price tag is getting a little high. Tobias Harris is somebody I really like at 7,100. I think he's a really good tournament play tonight. Ingram versus Dort. Yikes, Dort is locked down. Not worried about it, Grant. Bridges. Also, is OG still in play in this slate? Yeah, I just talked about OG. I wouldn't mind him as like a last piece in cash. Talk about a guy that played fantastic last game against Philly. The minutes are always going to be there for OG. He's very consistent, so I wouldn't mind him, but I think there's better plays. So, guys, we got 6 o'clock. We got a half hour until slate locks, so I think I'm going to end it there. This is obviously a lot tougher to do without Matt. I'm kind of collecting my thoughts as I'm talking to you guys, which is not frustrating, but it's definitely not as smooth. So I appreciate the 110 of you in here that took the time to listen to me ramble and kind of process my thoughts as I'm talking. Like I said, when Matt is talking and asking me questions, it gives me some time to kind of think about what I'm going to say instead of just spewing it all out and not really having the opportunity to think. So appreciate you guys coming in. Again, so my core for tonight in terms of cash is going to be Michael Carter-Williams, Brandon Ingram. I really like Marvin Bagley, especially at that ownership. I like Harrison Barnes. If you want to go Zion over Brandon Ingram, I think you can get away with that as well, obviously seeing the ownership that we're seeing from Zion. But I personally lean Brandon Ingram. Grant is sitting here saying that Dort's going to lock him down. I don't think so I don't care. I also really like Harrison Barnes. I feel like I just said that. And I really like Rudy Gobert and SGA at 8,100 and 5,600. And I also think that Reggie Bullock is now in play. And also, I really think that Julius Randle and Alfred Payton are in play in terms of cash. So I just gave you a whole list of cash plays. Hopefully, we can keep riding the hot hand. I know we've had some success over these last couple nights, especially. I know I've had some really good success. And in Patreon, in the Discord, we've had some fantastic success with some of our members. For those of you who aren't Patreon members, the link is below. $20 gets you access to all of our sports, all the cheat sheets that Matt has up for every single slate that he possibly can. Get you also an invite to our Discord chat, which is fantastic. It's literally just guys and girls talking about talking about DFS all day, organized through sports of NBA, NFL. I know MMA is a little bit on a hiatus currently, but coming back. CSGO, we got League of Legends on the prowl. MLB, should be starting up soon. So many sports, $20 a month. So make sure you check it out if you want to. You can bug Matt and I in there. We're always in there answering questions if you guys have it. I appreciate you guys being in here. If you didn't like this, please like it. Definitely support the channel if you can. It really means a lot to Matt and I. Make sure you're following us and subscribing. That's the word that they use on YouTube. And I really appreciate you guys coming out. I hope everybody has a fantastic and safe New Year's Eve. If you are going out, please be careful. Make right choices and be safe if you're doing a little bit of drinking. I'm gonna go pick up my Chinese food and finish my lineups. If you have any questions, feel free to @ me in the Discord if you are a Patreon member. So I'll see you guys in there. Again, have a fantastic 2021. Let's cash, and I will see you guys next year. That is so cliche. I hate that I just said that, but I did. Appreciate you guys coming in. I will talk to you guys soon. Where do I go? I go end stream. I'm going to put on some cool music for you guys too.